about cars. I don't mean the movie, I mean about actual cars. So, do you guys know how a tire is part of an overall car? Right? So, raise your hand if you can tell me some other parts of a vehicle, of a car, different pieces of the car that you have. Michael, go ahead.
Engine.
Say it again, Michael. We can't hear you. Sorry. Okay. What are some other parts of cars, Corbin, besides the wheels or the tires?
Um,
All right, we might have to come back. All right, come on.
motor in cars?
Motor, there you go. Yep, or engine. Thank you. Jay, what's another part of a car?
The heater AC inside the car.
Heater and air conditioner. Very good. What else? Anybody else know parts of cars? Different other parts of cars. Michael.
A rim.
Rims. Yeah, the wheel, like the rim inside the tire. Clay, go ahead.
Oil pressure.
So you could just say oil tank. But yeah, we have like the oil. You have to get your oil changed and stuff like that sometimes. We also have like the windshield. What else? Guadalupe.
A back trunk.
The trunk. Ania.
The brakes.
The brakes. What else? We have like windshield wipers and the steering wheel, right? And all that. So we kind of have to have all those parts of a car to make it fully function, right? In order for a car to fully work, we have to have all those pieces. Do you think some parts of cars are more important than others? Yeah, right? Like the steering wheel and the engine and the wheels are probably more important than if my car has a sunroof, right? That sunroof is a part of my car, but it's not necessarily that important. Well, a book is kind of like that too, right? Where we have to put all these pieces together in a story to make it fully function the right way, right? But some pieces of the story are more important than the others, right? Not every story, not every part of the story is going to be as important. Some are just for show to add a little bit of humor or extra parts to the story. Some are needed for the basic function of that story, right? So we're going to start thinking of the story, the Tiger Rising, a little bit more like that today, like this story where all these pieces come together and work together. Some pieces probably more important than the others, but we still need all of them to go. So a page is part of, like I said, a small page is part of a story, right? When an author writes a book, they know that that page is connected to the story. The page is connected to the page that came before it and what's going to come after it. It kind of all works together. And we need to think about how different pieces of that story are all connected together. Let's see if we have somebody read our goal today. Jonathan, can you read our goal today?
As readers, we must do this thinking by taking across the whole book.
Yep. Can you read that part in white to understand?
This part?
The part where it says to understand that readers
who are trying to read
interpretively
pay attention to whatever sticks out, but then they think how many might this part fit with other parts.
Very good. Thank you, sir. So what we're going to talk about today, moving forward with the lesson, is how do I find certain parts that stick out and relate those to other parts of the story that stick out, and talk about how those are connected in any way, shape, or form, how they go together to kind of build the story into one piece that works as we read the whole book, right? So this is a passage that stuck out to me, and I'm going to just read it for you guys really quick when I read the book. So the part about Rob and his mom, and it says, he remembered that his mother had taken hold of his hand and pointed up at the sun shining through the leaves of the tree and said, "Look, Rob, I've never in my life seen a prettier color of green. Ain't it perfect?" "Yes, ma'am," he said, staring at the leaves. "It looks like the original green, the first one God ever thought up." His mother squeezed his hand. That's right, she said. The first one God ever thought up. The first evergreen. You and me, we see the world the same. So I thought about that part of the story, and I thought about how happy that scene feels for Rob, right? And it creates this mood, which is like the feeling or tone of a place or person. And Rob has been mostly like gloomy and lonely and felt by himself the whole book. But right here in this scene, when he's thinking about his mom, he's filled with happiness. And I started thinking about how could this fit with other parts of the story that we've noticed where he feels happy. Can anybody think of, off the top of their head, another part of the story where we saw that Rob felt really happy during the story? Does anybody remember any of them? I've got one thought up, but I want to see if anybody can come up with one. So we've been reading the book for a while now. Are there any other scenes where we remember Rob being happy and feeling happy when he normally felt gloomy? Jay, what do you think?
When Rob was running with Sistine, and then he shrugged a little bit, and then he just started laughing.
Man, our brains must be connected today, because that is the exact scene I thought of. Right? Rob is running through the woods with Sistine, so I'm going to read this part. It says, nice job. It says, Sistine said, stop shrugging your shoulders at me. I hate it. I hate it the way you shrug all the time. And that made Rob remember Willie Mae saying that when he shrugged, he looked like a skinny bird trying to fly. It struck him as funny now. He laughed out loud at the thought of it, and without asking him what he was laughing about, without dropping his hand, without stopping, Sistine laughed too. Then Rob remembered the name of the feeling that was pushing up inside him, filling him full to overflowing. It was happiness. That is what it was called. So how does that scene connect with that green leaf seed from his mom, right? That's where we have to make these connections. How are these two scenes related? Well, it's clear to me, in my opinion, that Rob feels happy around certain people in his life, right? We've noticed by reading it that Rob feels happy around his mom, and Rob feels happy around Sistine. So it's important that not only do we retell the scenes and we compare them, but we do really hard work of growing ideas. So things you could say, like thought prompts that can help you, is to think about, like, I'm starting to realize that in both parts of the book, Rob is happy when he's with somebody who understands him, right? So I think that that key right there, right here, is a good way to start it, is by saying, like, I'm starting to realize, because you're building up ideas from one thing to another. We're not realizing it all right at once. It has to take time to connect one thing to the other. This is really hard work as readers, you guys. You have to really be on your A game to do this. But I'm super exciting to see, like, Jay thought of the exact same scene that I was thinking of, and we are able to connect the way Rob feels with his mom and Sistine. So after that, you can ask, do you think this life lesson or theme might be in this story, right? So I came up with this idea that it's lonely when you feel misunderstood, right? Or having someone who gets you makes your life happier, or it means a lot when you reach out to people. So those could be lessons it's kind of trying to help us learn, is that life is better when we surround ourselves with happy people, right? Or people who make us happy. Rob has seen that when he surrounds himself with his mom, or he surrounds himself with Sistine. So I want you to get out your notebooks, and we started this chart yesterday. So you guys should have a chart that says, to understand and interpret a story, readers pay attention to, hang on, sorry, my font's all messed up. Readers pay attention to character, setting, recurring objects or images, and plot. We wrote that down yesterday, right? We're going to add to that the mood and feelings in the story, and parts that connect to each other. All right, so we're going to add mood and feelings and parts that connect to each other. So it is 8:54. If you did not write any of this down yesterday, you may want to take the time to start writing this whole thing out right now. It is 8:54. I'm going to give you until 8:57 to add that to your notebook. And then at 8:57, I'm going to ask that you hold up your notebook and show us what you have written down in your notebook, please. So people who are ahead of the game, like I see Jake's getting his out and writing. I see that Denise is writing out. It looks like is writing things down. I can see Alejandro is writing. Michael is writing. So at 8:50, we'll give you till 8:58.
Scroll down, Rocio, scroll down.
At 8:58, I'm going to ask you to show me your notebooks, please. So you get 3 minutes. Two minutes. 2 minutes. Which is left? One minute. 1 minute. All right. If you could please hold up your notebooks so I can see you have the chart written down. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Ania. You're good to put it down. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Guadalupe. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you, Cynthia. Corbin, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Nice job, Clay. Thank you. All right. Alex, I can see your writing, so thank you, sir. Alex J. Moving on today, your job is going to be to go back in the book you are reading for small group and trying to think about parts of the story that stick out and parts of the story that are connected, all right? And you're going to try to find 2 or more parts that connect to each other and share your connections on Canvas. You're going to write, these are the 2 parts of my story, and this is how I think they connect. You do not need to submit it yet if you're not comfortable, if you're in the later groups, but I do want you to do that work. So for example, Michael is in, I'm just using you as an example, okay, Michael? Michael is in my Friendle group that reads at 9:40. So when Michael comes at 9:40, I want Michael to say, I remembered this part of the story, and I remembered this part of the story, and this is how I think they connect, or this is what I think they tell me by the way they connect, all right? Same thing with the group that meets with Miss Weibel with the bicycle spy. At 9:40, when you meet, you should say, oh, this is a part that stuck out, and this is a part. Have that work done when we meet at 9:40, because it is only 9 o'clock. That's 30 minutes. Now, if you want to wait and talk about it and then submit it after reading group, I understand that. That's fine. But what you shouldn't do is come to reading group with no work done. Okay? In my groups yesterday, I know you had to finish the chapter, so you might want to work on making sure you have the chapter finished that we were supposed to read if it's not done yet either. Okay? So here are a couple examples. They say, I think Maria Isabel is wearing the yellow dress again is really important because it shows her connection to her culture and grandmother and to herself. So that'd be an example of something that the student wrote. Another one is, I think ripping up those pictures is important because it shows Journey finally seeing that his mother returning won't make his family complete. His family is complete with his grandfather, grandmother, cat, and him. So that's apart from early in the story. It's connecting those two things. So you're going to share your connection on Canvas under reading. So just to be clear, you're going to go to Tuesday, you're going to go to reading and lesson 15 assignment. And it says the same thing. It says find part that pop out, find 2 or more parts that connect to it, and share your connections on Canvas. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if you understand what your job is today in reading. Okay, most of us have our thumbs up. Eric, you got it? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting in just a second. Please make sure you are at small group reading and you are on time, whether you meet with me or Mrs. Fleischer or Miss Weibel. Make sure you're on time to reading group. I will see you all later. Yeah. Alejandro, if you could